In this video, I make 3 games, one in 10 hours, another in 1 hour, and the last one in only 10 minutes. The whole reason I'm doing this is that I reached 150 subscribers here recently, and I thought I should do something cool to celebrate. So I give a massive thank you to everyone who has supported me thus far, and everyone to hopefully come. It has been a wonderful journey reaching this milestone, from starting out streaming on Twitch almost a year ago and now having a whole small community around my games and tutorials. So with that, we should get on with the games. Of course, to start off this stressful situation, I made quite a big mistake. For the first 25 minutes of my first stream, I didn't even have my microphone on, so instead of you hearing the process of me coming up with the game live, you get a nice voiceover instead. I started by coming up with an idea, which surprisingly didn't take very long. I thought an idle-ish game would be an easy enough game to make in 10 hours, and using simple shapes for the art meant I could focus more on programming. I came up with this neat idea that the shapes were worth more the longer they were on the screen, and you had to build contraptions to keep them on the screen longer. It sounds kinda boring, but it turned out to be really fun. Since the idea was done, I opened up a new Unity project and started setting the timer up. In the first stream, I had a lot of trouble keeping the timer going on screen even though it was still going in the tab. I got it all figured out eventually. But with an idea, I wanted to start the game off right and get a color palette. I knew I wanted a yellow background for some reason, so I made the rest of the colors based on that. I think it turned out pretty good. After importing the colors into Unity, I made an order of operations to help structure the creation of the game and not go too overboard on the scope. I think a big reason this game turned out so well is that I kept the scope so small for the game, meaning I could have some time to polish it and add content. The first thing I coded was the script that would spawn the circles at the top of the screen. It was relatively simple to make and worked very well. And this was when I realized my mic was off thanks to Sakio. They stopped by and dropped a follow and actually ended up watching all my streams, I think. So thank you to them. Oh my gosh, my microphone has been muted this entire time. Oh my gosh. I'm such an idiot. This has happened before, and now I feel so depressed because this is also going on YouTube, and now I don't have any footage basically for the first half of the game. With the spawning out of the way and working well, I needed to move on to making a collection system as well as money. So I made a little red box at the bottom of the screen that would destroy any circle that hit it. I also made each circle have a counter on it that ticks up every second and can have a multiplier applied to it, which comes in handy later. It displays the count on a little text box, and when it gets destroyed or collected, that count is added to your total money. Hey, this is great. I already have a gameplay loop. No, I don't. You can't do anything. That's that done already. Wow. All in 45 minutes. Actually, no, it's not been 45 minutes. The timer stopped again. Although it's been around 45 minutes. Well, I think I need to move on to the building somehow. Anyway, building manager. I need to make some variables. I'll probably do scriptable objects and a procedural menu maybe. I only have 10 hours, so I'm gonna jump into a long 2-hour time lapse that goes over multiple streams. It took me that long to make a menu, fix the untested building system, and add 2 objects to the game. While all that is happening, I'll let you listen to the game's track, which is made later on in the video. Enjoy! The finished product is a pretty fun building system that allows you to select an object from the menu if you can afford it and place it in the world. It also has grid snapping to keep your builds neat. Thing is, if you do this and you just delete it, it's gonna give you a ton of money. That's like the hardest thing for a game developer to figure out what's gonna happen. How would they have to stay moving? That's a good thing. Oh, that's such a good idea. Okay, sorry. The objects have to stay moving? Let's see if this works. That looks good. Okay, so if they stop moving, they destroy themselves. That's perfect game design right there. There are still 30 minutes left of this stream, but I think I can pretty much sum up what I did right now. I added 2 new objects, the bump and the square, and I also made a toggle that allows you to delete objects on the screen in case you mess up. And with that, let's move on to the third stream. I started it off by adding a new font to the game so the UI and shapes look a lot better, then I quickly moved on to adding in a bunch of special objects to make the game more interesting. First, I created a freezer that didn't work very well even though it took me forever to make it. Then I made the upgrader, which is probably the best thing in the game as it drastically increases your profits. It was also challenging to make because nothing ever works the first try, and if it does, you know something will go wrong later down the road. The simplest object is probably the bounce pad because it was as easy as creating a bouncy physics material. I may have set the bounciness a tad high at first, but I eventually got it just right. And the last object I made in that stream was a boost pad. It simply launched the ball in the direction it was facing. I don't think very many people actually use them though. I had the idea to add trails to the balls, not for any specific reason, but more because they look nice. In the end, I think they turned out well. At this point, I was ready to add some post-processing, which are effects applied to your camera that makes your game look a lot better. I made mine pretty subtle as it isn't much of a flashy game, then I speedrun making an upgrade screen that allows you to buy more spawners, increase spawn speed, or multiply the money accumulation rate. They get a little more expensive every time you purchase one. Well, we have upgrades, we have a gameplay loop. I think the game's kind of done. I have a gameplay loop, I have upgrades, I have everything I needed for the game to be done. Moving on to the fourth and final stream, I started working on the music and sound effects immediately. You can currently see me making the song you heard earlier and importing it into Unity. I also made/downloaded 3 different sound effects for the game. There's a ding noise for when a ball is sold, an explosion noise for when a ball is destroyed, and a ka-ching noise for when you buy an upgrade. Finally, it was time to move on to making a main menu and tutorial. These 2 things were pretty simple to make, but took a while anyway because UI is difficult to do fast. This was the last thing I streamed making and the rest was done off camera. The first new object I made was a fan, which simply pushed the ball in the direction it was blowing. Then I made one of my favorite objects, the conveyor belt. They move the balls at a constant speed and can even be used to make upwards tubes that bring the ball back up to the top of the screen. Both of these were made pretty quickly. Next, I added these things to the tutorial and came up with a name for my game. Moneymaker was done and ready to be published. Thumbs up. And I did it. I think so. Hopefully there's not too many bugs. I'm honestly really proud of this game, and I'm happy with how fast I came up with the idea and how fast I made it, really. It's a pretty decent slew of objects as well. We're done. And with that, the first game was done. As I said, I'm super proud of this one, and it's probably one of my best games so far. But this video isn't over yet. I still have 2 more games to make, starting with the 1-hour game. I knew I wanted a simple infinite runner since I figured I could make that in 1 hour. I settled on a Subway Surfer style game with 3 lanes your player snaps to, so I started things off by making the ground. Then I made a little sphere to represent the player. For this to be an infinite runner, you need some obstacles, so I quickly made this cylinder that you could dodge or jump over once I added player controls. Next, I made a script that would spawn the prefabs in a random lane at a random interval. I've made so many spawning scripts like this, it wasn't much of a challenge and more of a nuisance. I also made the prefabs move forwards, so it gives the effect that you, the player, are moving. With objects coming at the player, I needed to give it a way to dodge them, so I started to work on the player controls. It was a pretty simple script. It just uses an array of transforms that the player can be at, and when the player presses an arrow key, it changes the index number so the player will move to the next point, and jumping was a simple rigid body push upwards. Now that you can move, you should be able to lose as well. That was as easy as checking if the player hits the other objects and reloading the scene when it does. At this point, the basic gameplay loop was done, but I still had 25 minutes left, so I made another obstacle, one the player can't jump over, so they have to move out of the way. This prevents the player from staying in one lane the entire time, and also gives some more variety to the game. With 20 minutes left to finish the game, I decided I needed to add a point system. Every time you pass an object, you get a point, and depending on how many points you have, the objects spawn faster. Now I had 10 minutes left and no new ideas, so when a viewer suggested a coin collectible, I immediately made it because it was a great idea. It's a simple yellow sphere that gives you 5 points if you touch it. By now, there were only 6 minutes left and nothing else to add, so I simply played the game for the rest of the time. And with that, the 1 hour game was done. It's honestly really terrible, but something made in 1 hour, it's pretty neat. Without further ado, let's get into the 10-minute game. Where's Canvas? I'm just gonna do in Shakespeare Pro. What did I do? Oh, I'm messing everything up. Oh gosh, that terrified me. It's so loud. Sorry. Yeah, I actually jumped. Does the game work? First try? Probably not. Oh, I forgot to set the thing. And also I need to set this thing. We just basically click down here. Pretty simple game right there. Oh, I forgot one thing. I completely forgot about that. I have an auto clicker, I'm gonna do that at the end. I forgot to subtract it, but I think I'm done. Let's go. I finished my game in less than 10 minutes. I keep doing it, I keep finishing with like 20% left still. Yeah, this is working. Oh, this is great! How many clicks can you get? I need a CPS counter. Oh, how do I make that? How would I don't even know the math for it, but yeah, time's up. That didn't do it. Anyway, how would I do it though? Like, clicks per second. Like, if I have all the clicks in the second. Oh, I just do clicks. Like, right? Like that. I would just do that, right? Yeah. But I finished the game. This is what I have, and I'm gonna do it after the 10 minutes just because I think that'd be great. But this is what I have in the 10 minutes. You click, you get points. You can upgrade. And if I grab an auto clicker, set it to shoot every 1 millisecond. How fast do you think this will go up? Quite a lot of upgrade. Anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and make the CPS thing because I feel like I can do that in like a few seconds. I was so close. Cool, I have a CPS counter. That's pretty great. You know, if I'd come up with the idea a little faster, I would have been able to do it. But I think that's 10 hours. Let's go. With that, the video is over. Again, I can't thank all of you guys enough for subscribing and liking my videos, leaving feedback on games, or even just being a part of the community. I hope my channel continues to grow along with my game dev skills. So thank you and goodbye.